Hi, my name is William Ramada, and I'm a life coach of my personal practice, Mastering Life's Journey, in the beautiful resort town of Virginia Beach, Virginia. I teach people we are all on a journey in life and how to get to the root of their challenges, to learn life lessons, and to live with purpose, to feel alive. I work with people who struggle with everyday challenges, goals, and even more to in-depth problems and would like to experience peace, joy, happiness, and live a fulfilled life that they desire. My clients receive proven and extremely specific step-by-step coaching on exactly what they need to do to enjoy life and be purposeful in their life. Would you like to know more? Let's schedule a time to talk. In the meantime, enjoy this video. A little while back, a friend of mine, Maggie Wagner Rush, did a video on boundaries. She does an excellent job. She brings it down to earth for you, and it's just great that people will step out and talk about things that the average person needs to hear because they don't hear it on their own. And when she talked about boundaries, it made me start to think, what kind of boundaries are we missing, and how do we even set our own boundaries? Because they're essential to have a healthy relationship and to have a healthy life. Setting boundaries is an essential skill, and unfortunately many of us don't have it. We just don't know how to set them, and if we do, they're never really good enough. So I just want to go over some key points of how to set a boundary, or what do we need to do to set those boundaries. And probably one of them is, first one I would say, is to name your limits. You have to know what your limits really are. You can't set good boundaries if you're unsure of where you stand. So you have to really know where you stand. I mean, how can you say, well, I like this or don't like that, if you don't really know if you're going to stand strong on that boundary? So you have to set them in different areas of your life: physical, emotional, your mental, and even your spiritual limits. Consider what you can tolerate and accept and what makes you feel comfortable and stressed. Once you have those ideas, then you can set that limit. You can name that limit. Like we do it with people all the time, and we probably don't even realize it, but sometimes we'll let people in our lives that are mean, and you want to set that limit and say, I don't want that in my life, but you still tolerate it and you let them in. And so this is one of the ways we guard the people that are around us. And we really need to also tune into our feelings. Have you observed your feelings on how you think about certain things? What are those red flags and those cues in your life that will tell you, okay, this is some place where I need to set a limit? Am I willing to be letting this go, this out of my life? Is it causing me discomfort, resentment, or is it bringing me happiness and joy? And of course, you really need to be direct. I mean, once you set your limits, you have to be direct about it. You need to let those people in your lives know your limits. For yourself, you have to be direct for yourself. Because if people don't know your limits, they don't know your boundaries, they're gonna step right through them. They will always do it. You have to draw that red line. And that moth didn't know its limits. It obviously don't know my boundaries. And you have to give yourself permission. Fear, guilt, self-doubt, they are probably our biggest potential pitfalls. We might fear another person's response if we set up and enforce our boundaries. You uh, I know I've done that before. I set boundaries, and then I was afraid to keep them because what if this person said that? Or maybe they won't be my friend anymore. And if they cannot appreciate my boundary, then obviously they shouldn't be my friend in the first place. There's one of those negative things we should probably just let them go. If they can't respect my boundaries and I'm respecting theirs, then we need to let them go. So give yourself permission to choose who you want in your life, what you want in your life, what are you going to do. Boundaries aren't just a sign of a healthy relationship, they're a sign of self-respect. So give yourself the permission to set these boundaries and work to preserve them, because it does take work. Um, Internally, it takes a lot of work because you have to adjust yourself. And of course, with all these things we're thinking about, we can't do that if we don't have self-awareness. Boundaries are all about honing in on your feelings and honoring them. So if you notice yourself slipping and not sustaining your boundaries, I suggest that you ask yourself, what has changed? And consider, what am I doing? Or what is the other person doing? What is the situation that is eliciting and that's making me resentful or stressed? So think of these things. Be aware of what's going on in your mind and your heart, um, and also those things that are around you. And then once you do that, come to the knowledge where you have to say, what am I going to do about it? What am I going to do about this situation now? And we can't do anything if we don't decide if we have control over it. So decide, what do I have control over? And it comes down to like the past and the present also. You take a look at things about how you were raised, what was your role in the family, and the other obstacles that you have come around to preserve those boundaries. If you had a role of, say, a caretaker, you learned to focus on other people. You let yourself become drained emotionally and physically because you put yourself out there for everybody else and you don't take care of yourself. And you know that you do it, and you realize that it's not good for you because you are not taking care of yourself, but you continually do it anyway. So remember this, it is emotional and physical. And when you ignore your own needs, it becomes a norm for you. And that is what we do not want to do. Also, think about the people you are surrounding yourself with. Are the relationships reciprocal? Is there a healthy give and take? So, like in the role of a caretaker again, you give and give and give and you're not taking. So, are the people around you being reciprocal? You taking care of them? Are they helping you take care of yourself? Or are they doing anything for you in kind? Yeah. So that leads us to make your self-care a priority. That's a big neglect that many of us do in our lives. We don't take care of ourselves as a priority. This also involves giving yourself permission to put yourself first. So when you do this, our need of motivation to set boundaries becomes even stronger, because if we are letting people override our boundaries, then we are not taking care of ourselves. We are once again taking care of them. Self-care also means recognizing the importance of your feelings and honoring them. These feelings serve as important cues about our well-being and about what makes us happy and unhappy. So many times we see these cues, they're the red flags that we are doing too much for others and not for ourselves, but we ignore them and put them off anyway. So putting yourself first always gives you the energy of peace in mind and positive outlook to be more present with others and to be there with them. So if we take care of them, then your role of caretaker would be easier because you are taking care of yourself. You have your own peace of mind. You'll have energy to focus on them. And then when we're in a better place, we could be a better wife, a better mother, a better husband, a co-worker, or a friend. And it's hard to do all these things. I know it's a lot of pointers, but it's hard to do all these things if we don't seek support. If you're having a hard time making these boundaries and keeping them, then you need to seek support. Who in your life is going to help you? And who in your life is going to support you in making these boundaries and keeping these boundaries? You know, you could have groups that you can go to. You know, there's all kinds of groups out there. You can find them. Church, you can go to counseling, life coaches, of course, and good friends. Good friends are some of the best supports that you could have because you know you have a good friend when they support your boundaries. With friends or family, you can even make it a priority with each other to set up these boundaries together, and then you can hold each other accountable. Accountability between two people is great because you respect each other and you want to be accountable to them, and they will to you as well. And you got to be assertive. You know, I know I used to lack that big time. I wasn't assertive. I'd get these ideas, but I would never just jump out there and do it. So we know it's not good enough just to create these boundaries, but we actually have to follow through. We can learn a lot. We can have all this knowledge in our heads, but if we don't act on it, it's worthless. I know there's a good saying about that out there. I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but it's basically that, you know, what good is all this knowledge if you're not going to use it? It's worthless. And we could have these boundaries and we can know them intellectually, but if other people don't know them, they're not going to respect them or expect you to have those boundaries to be held to, because frankly, we're not mind readers yet, right? So I can't read your mind, you can't read mine. So we have to be assertive and make sure that people know our boundaries. We have to assertively, that's the right word, assertively communicate to each other when that boundary has been crossed. And we do that in a respectful way, of course, because we don't want to push people away. Then I think the last point is probably one of the important points is we have to start small. Like with any goal, we want to start with the small ones and then work our way up, right? Because every little small goal increases to the big goal. So we could have this huge goal in life. Like we want to be an engineer. Okay, we're not born and we could be an engineer. We have to go to college. So we have to start first with the recommended basic colleges, right? College classes, English, math, history, all that stuff. Then we do the first in the engineering classes. Then we build it all up to get our degree, and then we get the job as an engineer. The same thing with making the goals in life. It's the same thing, one little step at a time. One goal to another goal to another goal. And it's all a skill. It's all a skill in assertively communicating your boundaries. So start small, start practicing. Just tell one person at a time, hey, I appreciate this, I appreciate that, I don't like that, so please don't do that. And whenever somebody crosses that boundary, politely say it, I don't appreciate that. Uh, this is where my boundary is. So that's how you're going to build upon that success. So boundaries are important, right? So all those things we have been through, that we just talked through, are important for our health. They're important. They're very essential to our relationships and to have a healthy life. So set those boundaries, but make sure you communicate them. Make sure you're direct, but be aware of each and every one of them for yourself. Because you could tell everybody in the world what your boundaries are, but inside, if you don't name your own limits, they're not going to do you any good. Have a great day, be blessed, and be healthy.